Oh, wow. I just got done watching Preacher's Daughters. I actually thought it was a joke when they first started playing the clips and whatnot. I really could not get the purpose of making a show like that. But then again, we do live in America and people thrive on drama. And I'll admit I do too, to some degree. Because that show is a piece of work. Doesn't do anything for the negative stereotypes surrounding the kids of preachers, but oh, let's be honest, we all know. I do personally know a son of a particular preacher or pastor, I should say. But I'm not gonna say their name or anything, but uh, when they say that he or she needs Jesus, he definitely needs. Well, he doesn't actually need Jesus. Nobody needs a fictional character. He actually needs some therapy. That would help. But praying works just as well, evidently. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, basically, to get the gist of the show, it's just to display this stereotype that the sons and daughters, particularly in this case, the daughters of clergymen and women of the Christian variety, are very, let's say, wild to some degree, maybe loose, maybe they're just normal. Maybe that we have this perception that they should be better than everyone else just because their mommy and their daddy pretends to talk to themselves in the middle of the day in front of lots of people. Maybe it's us. I don't know. And you be the judge of that. But you can definitely say these are three unique families, and I'll give you a rundown. You have the Perrys, which is your average upper middle class suburban Caucasian family, where the father is the patriarch, and he is the main one, the driving force behind their theological beliefs. He is the head of the household. He is the head honcho, and he is also one of the most condescending motherfuckers I've ever listened to in my life. Oh my goodness. This guy has three daughters, and each of them has their flaws, just like any human being. But after viewing how he and his wife sits there submissively, as she should, how they talk to their daughters and how they discuss things, I see why they don't tell this guy anything. This guy is a tool, to say the least. And in all honesty, if he was my parent, I wouldn't want to talk to him. He's not going to see eye to eye, and many parents really shouldn't see exactly eye to eye on the same level as their child. Of course not. But there's some degree where you want your children to level with you, and to be honest with you, you have to drop the piety and the condescension and the judgmental presence about you. And he seems to not be able to do that in the least. His solution to these problems that come up in his family, like his daughter having premarital sex and getting pregnant, he answers that by doing the laying of hands and trying to apply some more Jesus balm to her forehead, because that solves shit. I guess he didn't do that for the last 17 years she was living, but he applied some extra fucking Jesus balm there, and it solves the problem, and the baby just disappears and goes poof. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking, but the guy's, he's special. It makes it even better because his daughter, I forget her name, she's like, I think, no, she's 18. She is probably 3 comments away from being on the Maury show, because now she's not sure who the baby's daddy is, and I think that's just hilarious. So, I mean, that brings up the question again: do we have a higher standard for them because they are the sons and daughters of clergymen and women, or are they just average people who fuck up and make mistakes? Are we just blown out of proportion? I don't know. You be the judge of that. The next one. Probably one of the most interesting ones, the Koloffs. The dad was an old wrestler, the Russian Nightmare, and I mean he's a big guy. He still works out and whatever, and he goes to eat at his very modest restaurant, bistro, with his daughter, and you know, that's his daughter's probably his daughter's 16. It's probably one of the most normal ones, and she's just like any normal 16-year-old is very curious about sex, but also very put off by it because her mother is also a preacher, but she's also known as the sex lady because she works at some pregnancy clinic, which I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to pan out, being the strong, fundy Christian woman that she appears to be. The dad is very foreboding guy, you know, typical, you know, protector of his daughter and her virginal presence. Well, that I would expect, but he is not really the interesting one. It's the mom. The mom has this weird scene where she is introduced to her daughter's beau, I guess you could call him, and he shows up late like a teenager, and you know, I'm already docking points off you. You're showing up late. And I'm like, God damn, kid. Okay, you know, that's a little odd, whatever. So then she proceeds to give this kid a questionnaire and like guidelines. And my daughter has a bubble, and you know what that bubble means? You don't penetrate it. And just some really awkward shit. And evidently that really just annoys the shit out of her daughter because she doesn't like words like penetration and oral sex and finger and backdoor and all the euphemisms her mom uses in her sex sermon that she likes to give to the teenagers and whatnot. Which the sex sermon is, I've only gotten a taste of it, but it doesn't. I mean, it's a typical Christian drivel where, you know, they tell you not to have sex before you're married, but then most of the American marriages end up in divorce, and one of the top issues just so happens to be sexual compatibility, but that's only for heathens and you know, hippies and shit. So it's very interesting as to how that's going to pan out, because she seems one of the more normal ones that's just kind of curious, but also is kind of put off by the prospects of different types of sex, including coitus and cunnilingus and fellatio and all the other stuff. And it's to me, she seems a little immature if she can't handle that. Just that talk that her mom gives, that she's really not ready to date, in my opinion. But we'll see how that pans out, like I said. And of course, we have your typical fat, sweaty, black preacher. They save his interesting ass, not for last, but he has his segment pops up every so often. I think he was one of the first ones that actually popped up, and then it just kind of segues into different things. But his daughter, it fantasizes about being a porn star, and I thought that was hilarious. Here's, you have to know though, before people go out and judge her, she said porn star out of pure ignorance, because she really doesn't know how porn stars are actually treated in real life, because she perceives that their sexual their job is sexual in nature is also liberating to them personally. And to some degree I will agree with that, but at the same time they're harassed and treated like shit in public, if you know anything about a porn star. So she is very naive, and her older sister points this out. She is obviously under a lot of stress from being underneath a father that is very, very patriarchal, and where it comes up again, that he is perpetuating this social nonsense of beware all beings with penises because you will get pregnant thing. I don't even know what you want to call it. It's just abhorrent, to say the least. But he is definitely perpetuating that because he himself was a professional breeder. So he is going to protect his daughters by keeping them away from all the other potential breeders. Let's not tell the guys to stop going around and fucking everything with tits and a vagina. Let's just hide our daughters so, you know, no magical sperm can get inside them, because they'll never get to heaven and receive their magical toaster or whatever the fuck Christians teach people these days. It's crazy. It's ass backwards thinking. But then again, look what we're talking about. So where is this series going? Where are they going to get to? I read some reviews from Christians, and of course, they're going to detest this and try to marginalize it as much as possible because it's bad press. You don't get good ties with bad press. That's period. So then you're not going to get an objective view of this from a Christian, period. And you can say I'm being, an asshole. You can say I'm being short-sighted about it. But at the end of the day, the church has a reputation to uphold. You can't save souls when you can't convince people that you're doing the right thing yourself. Point blank. I mean, that's you can't get around that shit. But I really think, personally, this series is going to revolve around more so the preachers and the families and their image rather than their kids, because that's what's really important, is that you keep your congregation loyal to you by living what you're preaching. Who the hell would want to listen to a fat, nasty personal trainer who couldn't run a quarter mile? I understand that. That is very understandable. That's very acceptable. But going about it the entirely wrong way with some of these individuals, and it's already apparent, and I don't know why I keep saying that word, that, or I guess it's a little foreshadowing as to how this series is going to progress. It's going to eventually kind of devolve into this just a montage of teenage sex, drama, and drugs, and then the family's trying to deal with it. And then they're going to come in and magically receive the shower of heavenly rays and pious thinking, and shit's going to all of a sudden get better. That's probably what we're getting set up for. So I'm going to call it right now. But as each episode goes by, I'll do a little review and a little recap. So you can tell me what you think, and feel free to disagree with me. I don't care, what side you're on, or, I do want to hear other people's perception of it, because I know I'm a cynical bastard, to say the least, but at least I'm honest. So, tell me what you think.